You must have been pretty academic though as a kid, because I spotted that you went to UCL, University College London, for those of you from this side of the world. But that's the top 4 uni in the UK and top 25 globally. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I mean, that's pretty impressive. So what again, there must have been something else that maybe inspired or, behind that kind of, to go after that path into engineering as well.
Yeah, I liked the idea of UCL. I think it was top 10 engineering around the world at the time as well. Really interesting place. Lots of historic announcements have been made there. I was lecturing, in Darwin's lecture theatre, where he announced to the world Darwinian theory, and being surrounded by the campus where the first steam locomotive was shown to the world was in the forecourt of UCL, which really sang to me. So that's why I wanted to go there. Hard to get into.
That's right.
I think I like the challenge of academia. I like to test myself in terms of my problem solving and how far I could go. I guess I'm quite competitive. So I always wanted to sort of try and be near the top of the class as well, and that helped during my high school, which gave me the grades to get into UCL. So that's I think that competitive drive in me helped spur me on, and then luckily enough I got a spot there.
Yeah, fantastic. And then after uni, your first job was with W.S. Atkins, who are a great organisation and a company with a great reputation. How did you land that job?
Yeah, carrying on the theme, I went to uni and it was it was really hard. Like, I thought I was going to nail it, but the step up was immense. And I really had to knuckle down, and I got good grades, managed to get a 2-1 with full honours. And that allowed me then to start to look at good, established, mature engineering houses like Atkins, and being quite close to my home. I was in London, and the head office for Atkins is in Surrey, so it was nice to start there. But the first day was a real eye-opener. I realised that my first morning I was absolutely out of my depth, because what I'd learnt, in terms of theory and all those things that you learn at university, I was in a workplace now, and they asked me to do some design by lunchtime, and it would have taken me, by first principles, days, and they wanted it by lunchtime, and I felt like, oh my goodness, I am going to have to learn quick. It's a real steep learning curve, how to be productive in the workplace.
And was it that kind of traditional grad role where you moved around different departments and sort of saw different bits and pieces? Yeah,
it was. So you did your bit in structures, in civils, in water, and got a real taste for it. That sort of like 6-month, almost internship at each place, and then you try and find out which discipline of engineering you like the most, and they'll try and match you there if they could. And that's where I got placed with the structural engineering department, and I like that because to me it's the most challenging in terms of understanding how buildings and structures work. And going back to my dreams of building good stuff, interesting stuff like bridges, well, that's you've got to get into the structural discipline to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. So if you coming into the workplace, particularly from university, it's a culture shock. If you could go back now in a time machine to your first day at Atkins, what advice would you kind of give to yourself around that time?
Yeah, to ease into it, I would have gone and done some time, if I could, with a company in my third year.
Yeah.
And if I know there are courses that do have placements as well as part of it. I really encourage those. Gives you a real taste of what it's like in the real world and prepares you better for it. I didn't have that. I smashed out my degree in 3 years probably because I'm competitive again. I just wanted to get it done and get into the workforce as quick as possible. What it meant was I got in quickly, but my first few months were really challenging. So if I was going to do the same course exactly again, no placement, if I could have done a few evenings a week with an engineering company, that would have prepared me better.
Yeah, okay. Then after a couple of years, you left Atkins and moved out here to Australia So what motivated that move?
Yes, my look for love. And I hear a lot of these stories in Australia. A lot of people from around the world have come here through love, and that's no different for me. So my wife is from Melbourne, and she was over in London for a 2-year working holiday, and I met her early in that 2 years, and we decided to come back together, and we were only supposed to come for a couple of years, and 20 years later, 3 kids, and dropped anchor. Here I am.
Yeah, I'm told that Australians are homing pigeons. That's
yes.
part of the immigration strategy.
Yes, so, I think so. Yeah, bring back the talent. Yeah.
So how did Australia meet your expectations?
Yeah, it really did. I mean, I was homesick for probably the first 18 months, and that really sort of time was the healer there. I recognised early on that there was so much opportunity here.
Yeah.
More so, I think, than in the UK.
Yeah.
And that was exciting. So that really sort of got my eye early on.
Yeah.
But that was being countered by sort of homesickness. And if I had people come out and visit, dropping them off at the airport was really challenging and tough for a year and a half, 2 years. And then then I got better at dealing with that.
Yeah.
And once I got past that, then I started to really say, right, well, if I'm going to raise a family, I think it's a great place to raise a family. The opportunities for my career, I think, are better. Let's just give it another year and another year and another year, and to the point where I got to probably after 5 years going, right, well, this is home.
Yeah. Yeah, great. And after when you came out here, you joined, is it Cardno, Grogan Richards?
Yeah.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And then you moved to McConnell Dow.
Yep.
And I noticed from your profile there that was a role covering Australia, Singapore and Malaysia.
Yeah.
So how did you adapt to working with different cultures?
Yeah, I think it's naturally I've got people leadership at the core of my values. So I think I'm able to communicate well with all levels and different cultures. And my marriage, I'm married into a different culture. So my wife has an Egyptian background, for example. Okay. And I find it interesting to meet different people, backgrounds. So I go into conversations and relationships with a really positive, open mind, which allows me to form good relationships quickly, I think. Yeah. And then it just allows me to apply my transferable skills, project management as an example, to get stuff done and do it well at forming good relationships. So I think that's how I've managed to sort of step between industries, step between different countries.
Did particularly working in Asia and Singapore, Malaysia, did you get any kind of formal mentoring or advice, or did you kind of learn through kind of trial and error?
I think by the time I got to Asia, I was late 20s, and because the opportunities in Australia can be quite fast, sometimes like I felt I was sort of thrown in the deep end a bit and managed to swim. It's a little bit terrifying at the time, but also exciting. So and I think that's really important. As I look back at my career, in pretty much all my scenarios, that there are emotions which are positive and emotions which are negative, right? And I've carried both with me. And so when I went to Malaysia, I was married at the time. My wife stayed in Melbourne, and I was there for a year, coming back every couple of months. And I was literally in an apartment by myself the first night going, wow, okay, this feels really lonely. Yeah. How am I going to get through 12 months? But you do, because the work I was there to do was super interesting. And so, you get that counter. And then after a bit of time, you sort of get through the tough times and enjoy it.